Okay, so have you ever wished you had a map for the human heart? You know, a real guide to figure out the crazy, complicated territory of love? Well, believe it or not, for centuries, people didn't just wish for one, they actually tried to draw them. So let's dive into that whole story.
I mean, really think about it. What if you could chart its landscapes, sidestep its dangers, and find a clear path to connection? It's this deep, universal desire we all have, isn't it? To try and put some kind of order, any kind of order, on the most powerful and, let's be honest, chaotic of all our emotions.
Yep. Long before there were dating apps or personality quizzes, people turned to one of the oldest tools we have, cartography. They made these incredibly detailed allegorical maps to try and chart the landscape of the human heart. All right, our journey kicks off in 1654 in a French salon with a map from a novel called Clélie by Madeleine de Scudéry. It's called the Carte de Tendre, or the Map of Tenderness, and it was basically created as a kind of instruction manual for the guys at court on how to properly win a woman's affection. Now, what's so cool about this map is how it lays out three totally different ways to get from new friendship to the cities of tenderness. One path, inclination, is the express lane. You can just sail right there if the chemistry is just right. But the other two, esteem and gratitude, well, they require a much more deliberate and virtuous journey. And this is where it gets really clever, because it shows the choices a suitor had to make. To get to tenderness on the path of esteem, you had to pass through little villages like great wit and sincerity. But if you made one wrong turn to the right, you'd find yourself drifting through negligence and sinking into the lake of indifference. Veer left, and you'd end up shipwrecked on the sea of enmity, a place from which the map warns no boats ever return. Ouch. Okay, let's fast forward to the 18th century and see how this whole romantic journey thing got a lot more, well, complicated. The focus totally shifted from these high-minded ideals of courtly love to the often messy, satirical, and pretty sexual realities of marriage. So the idea of the love map just exploded in popularity around this time. But the destinations, they became way less romantic. A 1748 map by Thomas Sayre, for example, brought in much more libertine ideas, charting a landscape filled with some seriously cynical landmarks. Yup, you heard that right. These new matrimonial maps were way less romantic and much more blunt. They charted places like Cuckold Shire, Cuckoldom Bay, and Henpecked Sands, which, reflects a pretty jaded view of married life. So the thing to get here is that these maps became warnings, just as much as they were guides. They were filled with these hilariously grim place names that painted a pretty bleak picture of marriage, charting everything from adultery and jealousy to what they actually called the bottomless pit of destruction. And this is where our journey splits. As these maps kept evolving, they started to chart the heart from distinctly gendered and often totally conflicting points of view. It became a literal battle of the sexes, right there on paper. So, check out this map from the 1830s, created by a lady. It shows the female heart as this vast, open country full of regions for social life, fashion, and deep emotions. You've got areas like the Dominion of Dress, sure, but also the really profound River of the Giving Heart. But the male heart? A completely different story. It wasn't shown as a country to explore, but as a fortress to be conquered. This map is drawn almost like a military strategy guide, showing the male heart under siege by an army of cupids who represent desire. So when you put these side by side, it really spells out the different emotional worlds they were portraying. At the center of the woman's open country is the hidden city of the inner her, a place you reach through connection. But at the heart of the man's fortress, you've got the walled city of inner him, defended by the impenetrable wall of ego. So let's bring our journey right into the modern era and see how this whole idea got transformed by psychology. The map literally moved from a piece of paper to a concept inside our own heads. In the 20th century, the term love map finally got an official scientific definition. A sexologist named John Money defined it as our own personal internal template for desire, basically a subconscious blueprint, as unique as a fingerprint, that's formed throughout our lives and decides who we're drawn to. So, according to modern researchers like anthropologist Helen Fisher, our personal love maps aren't charted with rivers and mountains anymore. They're drawn with our life experiences. They're shaped by absolutely everything, from our childhood to our biology, creating this complex internal guide to who and what we find attractive. For the last leg of our journey, let's just step back and ask a bigger question. What is any map really? What are we actually doing when we try to chart something as huge and as unknown as love? This quote just nails it, doesn't it? A map isn't just about geography, it's about telling a story. Whether you're charting a new continent or the landscape of love, the goal is the same: to impose some order on the chaos and to tell a story about our priorities, our fears, and our deepest desires. Writers from Lewis Carroll to Jorge Luis Borges have pointed out this beautiful paradox. The only perfectly accurate map would have to be a 1-to-1 scale replica of the territory itself, which would just cover everything up and be completely useless. A map, by its very nature, is a reduction. It's a representation, never the real thing. And that's the real key, isn't it? Whether it's charting a continent or the human heart, the map always reveals the biases and beliefs of the person who made it. These old love maps tell us less about the universal nature of love and a lot more about what 17th century French novelists or 18th century English satirists thought love was. In a way, we're always just mapping ourselves. Which brings this whole journey right back to you. If you had to draw a map of your own heart, what landmarks would it have? What would your treacherous seas be? And what would your cities of tenderness be? It's a journey we're all still charting, every single day.